Today on the podcast, we have Taren. Taren Grewal is a kinesiologist, strength coach, and Pilates certified instructor and co-founder of All Method Studio here in Vancouver. She specializes in strength and conditioning, rehabilitation, and Pilates with a focus on integrating nervous system regulation and supporting people through the different phases of their lives. As a mother of twins and IVF warrior, Taren brings both expertise and lived experience to her work, empowering individuals to build resilience, discover their potential, and cultivate a deeper connection with their bodies. Taren, welcome to THINKSPACE.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah. I'm in the zone. I feel like I worked this morning, so I feel like I'm in it, you know. Better than coming from home. I think if I come home from the kids, I'm a little off-kiltered. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, this is great.
So, okay, a lot of our listeners are, you know what? A lot of our listeners are probably already like locked in with their bodies, but it is a time where people, I feel like, are getting curious about their bodies, their relationship with their bodies again, and like, what does the next level of them look like? Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to kind of get into like the nuances of strength, conditioning. What the hell is Pilates? I even Googled what are the biggest questions of Pilates.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm excited to quiz you.
Okay.
But tell us, where did this strength and conditioning kinesiologist background start?
So I feel like it started when I was actually quite young. Like, I've always moved my body, and moving my body has always been a tool to center me and ground me. I have ADHD. I was a hyperactive kid, and I found I was more productive in life. I found that early on. Productive in life. And what does that mean when you're a kid? Good report cards for your Indian mom.
I love that you called yourself a productive kid as an Indian woman.
Because that's right. That's
Otherwise, what is your value?
What is your value? And so I feel like it's always been a tool for me to cope with the busyness in my body and the connection to my body and the connection to my physical and mental health, whether I knew it at the time or not. And so then I finished high school, I went to university, and it just felt fitting to be in a kinesiology program. So I went to UBC and I became a kinesiologist. And at that time—
What is a kinesiologist?
So it's the study of the human body. So we do everything from, it's like exercise science. So we learn about anatomy, physiology, how it equates to the body in different circumstances, and specifically exercise testing and sport, but also like different environments, space. And you can kind of get as deep and as broad as you want. So I loved it. And at that time too, I was coaching competitive sport. I grew up playing ice hockey and ringette. And
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I played softball and volleyball, and I was really active that way. So for me, I was lucky to have a dad and a mom who were really supportive of that. My dad was a huge, contributor to my passion for movement. And then I just, right out of university, it was the 2008 financial crash. And so jobs were a little hard to find, especially in movement. Movement wasn't a thing for longevity at that time, or like a non-negotiable in people's lives. I think people were like, it's an addition to your life. Where I think now it's more of a non-negotiable. It's the way people navigate stress, life longevity, and it's just a part of people's lifestyle. But back then it was an addition. And I feel like the crash, that was like one of the first kind of things for people to cut out of their budget. And so jobs were not the best. So I started my own business. I put a little ad on Craigslist, and I just went, let's giddy up and go. And
Craigslist. I love it.
And that's where I started my love. And I over the years for there, I found a passion in women's health specifically. I train a lot of men as well, but hormonal health, the longevity and the stages of the body. And I think I could even say it's gender fluid in that way. And so for me, that's kind of where it took off. And then as I started building my business, I fell in love as a strength conditioning coach. And then I started to fall in love with Pilates because of my health issues as a female. I was pushing myself in a very male-dominated industry, trying to keep up with the pressure of, I was busy. I had a lot of clients. I was working 13-hour days, 6 days a week. And I really loved what I did, but it had a toll on my body. And I didn't realize that my hormones and my body were actually all out of whack.
How did you start to realize?
Because I was trying to have children. And as I started to realize that I was pushing my body past its max, I was in my, early, and then as the journey went on, mid-30s. And I realized my body was in a high stage of dysregulation. I was nervous system dysregulation, hormonal dysregulation, and I needed to shift. And that's hard when you're building your career and you want to go 0 to 100 and you have that personality, and movement's been such a healer for you in a certain way. I was doing 2-a-day workouts, which means I was working out like strength training and then go for cardio. And then I fell in love with Pilates because the world said, slow down. My world said, slow down.
How did you, we're going to slow down.
Yeah, right? Because I could go. You asked me to
like,
talk.
girl, I can talk. Okay, so you are wanting to have kids. Your body is, I love how you said that, like the thing that I loved is now not serving me in the way that it used to. And that's a big thing because it's like, it sounds like it's also a big part of your identity, right? So you're like, how does Pilates come as a resource, as this is the next step?
So I should say that I'm a science body nerd. So first I was looking around the studio and looking at the research and what was coming out for movement and different diets that people were on. And a lot of it was based on, and now we're learning now, but a lot of it was based on male gendered humans. It's easier to research on them, a lot of the research, but then 80% of our clientele or our market was women.
Wild.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is interesting. And so playing with the movement within my own body and then taking Pilates just as a secondary way of moving, a contributing factor to my programming, a strength train, run, do the odd Pilates class, and realizing, whoa, we're not training the core correctly. And I'm not honoring my pre and postnatal clients the way I need to, and my male gender clients who have prostate issues, and also like as you age, hernias and things like that. And that's something that Pilates does speak to. It speaks to the pelvic floor. It speaks to the deep core. And are we doing core exercises correctly? Or are we just kind of like picking it out of a book and going? But do we actually understand the purpose and the why, and the integrity of the movement is really important to me. So then I took a Pilates certification, and that was just to educate myself as an instructor. And then when I took the Pilates certification, I realized, this modality is speaking to where I am in life. And that I can work smarter and not harder was like my first inkling to that while I was trying to conceive.
So, let's double click on a few things that you said there. Core. We don't know how to actually work with our core. What do we think, and versus where are we going? Like, what do you now know about core?
I think core is such a generalized term that people use, and it's so much more than that word. So like even in our all method and the way we move people and certify people and teach people, whether it's the Pilates method or the strength method, we speak to the core as the actual muscles that you're activating. So it's the corset muscle that wraps your torso, that stabilizes your spine. It's your obliques that everyone's like, I want those obliques on the side of my abs, but really their functionality is to align your rib cage and your pelvis so you actually engage it correctly. So you can't engage your core if your posture's not correct, because all these little muscles make up your core. And those deep muscles of your pelvis stabilize your body so that you can connect to not brace, but actually stabilize. And when you start to learn these things, then you can't really learn them without feeling them. Like getting someone to instruct, I can talk you through this, but and so I think we go macro with core movement. We go big, we go bold, we go burn. And are we actually moving the right musculature? And are we doing 20 reps instead of 8 reps? Because if you do it right, you only need to do 8. You only need to do 4. And Pilates shouldn't have weights to it, like you should. And that's why, like, I think even when people do my all strength method, they think, it's Pilates with weights. And I'm like, no, because if you do Pilates correctly, it's actually Pilates inspired alignment and exercises. And then we program strength in there. And so when you do it correctly, why I say work smarter, not harder, because you have to work you work more, but very targeted and very connected with less reps, with less time. Like I was just saying to a client of mine, I said, once I connected in the right way, once I felt it in my body in the right way through Pilates, it changed the game where like now I don't have the luxury of time to work out and do 2 workouts a day, or even some days a 60-minute workout. But I know that the workout that I'm putting in, the time that I'm putting in when I do my Pilates practice or I integrate it into my strength training, it's such big bang for your buck that you just don't have to do it as hard and fast. And I think for females and the way our bodies work hormonally and with stress, I think it's such a great integration. I don't think it can be the be all end all in your workout program, but I think it's so great to integrate and add to.
Yeah. When you're saying like bang for your buck and also just like 6 reps compared to 12, would you say that like in the fitness industry, because this is something I learned through our doc, was that people maybe when they're not as intentional with their workouts, like let's say maybe on a different part of the scale, almost like want to do more of the HIIT stuff. They want to feel the sweat. They want to feel like the energy, and they think that is the workout versus doing those small movements. Maybe you're not going to sweat as much, but you're going to work more. Yeah.
It all comes down to your why, which is like, I think everything in life. But I think it comes down to, why are you moving this way? Are you moving this way to get the endorphin rush of a HIIT workout and leave like, you feel like when you leave a little bit more like, you got the sweat running down you feel a little bit busted up. You feel like, I gave it my all, that is what you need today. And that is what that's going to give you. If your why is to build muscle mass and get progressive overload, that's strength training. If your goal is alignment and learning, mind-body connection and constant and continuous tension with really like intentional posture, and understanding core activation and healing your pelvic floor, that's Pilates. Like there's different reasons for it. And I think it's like, there's no one hit wonder. It's, you got to do a little bit of everything.
It's almost like also different seasons. It kind of makes me want to ask you, like, what's the biggest difference between somebody who is training for weight loss versus somebody who's training for longevity?
Well, I think everyone should train for longevity. And I think you can train for weight loss and longevity at the same time. And when a human comes into my space and wants to move with me and they say weight loss, I usually will say, not the trainer for you.
Tell me more.
I want people to feel it. I want people to feel stronger. I want people to feel they have autonomy over the movement choices they make. I want people to see me and then fly away into the sunset and be able to go and move anywhere they want to move. And obviously I'd love it if it's only at my studio, but no, but like that's what I want them to feel. So when your goal is weight loss, it's so narrow. It's so results driven instead of process driven. And like we were just saying earlier, we have so many seasons of life. So if you can understand movement and you can connect to movement, the weight loss is like icing on the cake if that's what you need. But I want people to feel, and I feel like when people go through, the methodology, the all strength methodology or the all method in Pilates, I think what they get and why we do it the way we do is because you learn how to activate your core. And that's your why. Your why is learning the fundamentals of the movement so that when you decide weight loss is your goal right now, but then longevity is your goal, and then you hurt yourself, and now healing from an injury is your goal, and now you just had a baby, or you're not able to work out because your partner just had a baby and you haven't been able to work out for, 6 weeks or whatever, you can come back and still feel as empowered and come back harder, faster, and stronger because you have the tools to do that.
And the foundation.
So your body doesn't forget that foundation. It might be rusty at the beginning, but your body doesn't forget that foundation. And once you feel the connection, you don't forget that feeling. When you hit it again. But if we were constantly focused on weight loss, it's such a fickle thing.
Yeah.
And it's so different for every human. Like every human that comes into my space has a different story, has a different journey, has a different relationship with their body, with food, with exercise. The one formula will not fit all. I can give you your macros and your micros, but if you don't have the tools to maintain it, your macronutrients in that meal plan, and then you have these very targeted workouts. But if you don't have the tools to maintain it, I feel like it's so short-sighted and it's so old school, in my opinion.
100%. Even what you're saying is like, you don't have the tools to maintain it. And I almost think also like the emotional regulation to maintain it, because people, like, I think they all say like, I don't have the discipline, I don't have the habits, right? But I think sometimes it's also looking at like your emotional relationship with working out, not even just with movement, your emotional relationship with food. Like, how is it actually in service to you? And like, is it actually in service to you?
And intentionality. If your intention is, I need to lose weight, is there a punishment element to it? I need to be better. I need to look different. And I think that's like, I'd be silly to say that I don't know that that's my client's goal or guest goal. Like, I understand that. But first, I think it's really important that we all sit into, that deeper relationship, that deeper honoring your nervous system. Where are you coming from? How are you approaching movement? And what is your life asking of you? I always say at the beginning of movement practices when we do our mindfulness is, today, what do you want from your workout? And what do you need? And those might be the same. And sometimes we walk in and we've clicked book my session, and you walk in, you're like, this is what I want today. And then we do a mindful check-in and you're like, I need to lie on my back and try not to pass away.
Basically.
I said that to my friend, my babies aren't sleeping right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, my workouts lately have been like lying on my back.
Yeah.
And breathing.
Yeah.
With my legs in the air and trying to just regulate. And that's because anything more, isn't serving me right now.
What is nervous system regulation?
It's learning how to, I would say this to the easiest way to explain it is to regulate your nervous system is to say, hey, I want to take my nervous system from its peaks and its valleys in the most fluid way possible. I want to create where my nervous system can undulate seamlessly and effortlessly by using tools physically through my sensory system to be able to regulate or ground my body when I need to, and also elevate my body for performance when I need to. And so what we do through movement is we try to undulate the nervous system through peaks and valleys, bring you down and ground you through breath, through the way, the hands are on the body, through the orientation of our space, the way our space is designed, orientating yourself through breath, your heartbeat, and the awareness of where you are landing in that moment, to then build you to the peak of your movement practice where your heart rate is now up, the cadence of your breath is quicker, you're sweating, you're pushing your musculature to its max, and then you draw yourself down. What this does is it increases what we call your window of tolerance. So how much more can you tolerate? So every workout, like you're building progressive overload for your muscle, let's say, you're strengthening your muscles over time. You're also strengthening your nervous system when you can stress it out, but also regulate it. So when it comes to movement, we sometimes leave our workouts pushing ourselves to our max and we walk out the door.
Yeah.
And then we go and we sit in traffic. And then we go and we deal with our families or back to work. And now we're still stressed and we never brought ourselves down. And so this leads to cortisol spikes, hormonal dysregulation, nervous system dysregulation, where your cup is so full, you're at your max, you can't walk into a meeting and be sharp and have your mind be clear and precise. Or, you come home and you're very quick to snap at your partner or your children or your extended family. And so movement can be a beautiful tool to teach our bodies and give our body space when our mind cannot compute it. Because our bodies keep so much more of the stimulation than our mind does. And so our bodies are constantly absorbing what's happening around us when our mind is unable to process it completely or consciously. So I think that's what movement helps us do, is move through that.
There was a big moment in my life where I recognized that I was like, oh, my body's been everywhere with me. Like, you know, when you have that consciousness when you realize like your parents are people, and like I had that same type of moment where I was like, oh, my body goes everywhere with me and it's experienced everything with me. And so like it was the beginning of my mind body connection. And in one of your bios, you had written something like, you know, like our bodies hold our stories, right? Can you kind of like double click on that, like what you mean by that?
Our bodies hold our stories. Yeah. I know as you move through life, whatever that relationship is with your body, whether you feel attuned or disconnected, our bodies are our sensory, our computer. So through touch, through sight, through smell, through sound, it's constantly, the intake is coming externally through internally. So yes, it's stored in our conscious and our subconscious, but it is also stored, our body is a computer and it's here to serve us and to protect us. So when we hit a small T, like a small trauma or a larger trauma in life, our body becomes very aware of that. And our body protects us from the next time that we are served anything or a situation similar. And so slowly we attach, if the easiest way I can say is attach armor on our body is how I say it. And so for my own personal self, I know through my experience as a woman of color through this world, and through the movement industry I could use, when I walk through spaces and felt myself walk through spaces at work where I was either the only female or one of the few, the only woman of color or one of the few, whether it was as a coach or a guide or it was as a participant many times, I naturally had that armor come up, that protective armor that you feel so many times as a minority. And then I would feel like in movement, sometimes that armor would start to lock and load. So I could not receive the same amount of work that I wanted to in that movement practice.
Because it's like what I'm hearing is that and if you can totally re-say it, but what I'm hearing is that it's almost like that armor is like an additional layer that is preventing us from even experiencing the healing of the movement.
Yes. This armor that you start to build through life, through your experiences, both physical, emotional, mental, how big or small, as we start to unlock the body and start to move it, one, it inhibits us to receive it. And I find that that's what I feel. You see humans come in the room or the space, and there's that first, do I feel safe here? Do I feel at ease here? Can I let go? And speaking to what we do at All Studio is that idea that let me ground you and bring you into a space and you find what your center of common ease is and let me meet you where you are. And then tomorrow I'll meet you somewhere closer to where you are and where you want to be. And every day you chip away and I'm here to help support you, or my team is here to help support you get there. And so I think that's how our body holds on to it. And then when we move, we think movement is just a destination to get to weight loss. Movement is just a destination to get to longevity. And then we have these moments where we're moving our body and we're like, why do I feel like this? Why is my heart beating so fast right now? I'm not even moving that hard. Why is my breath so short? Or why do I want to cry?
It's such a moment of processing.
And, why is my circulation, all of a sudden I feel like all the blood is gone from my face, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not in a HIIT workout, but what am I feeling? And it's your body communing. Your body doesn't know the difference to compute the difference between a lion in the prehistoric times chasing you because it needs a meal and you're just running away, to you at the top of your HIIT workout, at the peak. Your body just computes stress. And how do I save myself or keep that armor on so I don't die?
Yeah.
Or I don't hurt myself, or I'm away from harm. And so that's those things that movement can trigger and create in our bodies. And so when it came to strength training, or when it comes to Pilates, I think Pilates is that mindful movement that holds people, that gets people to move deeper. with a lower intensity that allows them. So I think this is beautiful, movement that's kicking off right now. And I think it's
always having its moment with
having
matcha.
its moment. Yeah, Pilates and matcha, seriously.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's because it's mindfulness and a connection that isn't pulling people way out of their body and dissociating them and telling them to hurt themselves and punish themselves and keep going. And you think you're at your limit, push past your limit. When like, I'm sorry, but I'm pushed past my limit every single day.
Everywhere else.
Everywhere else.
Yeah.
And when I come in and I need to connect to my body, I need to connect to my body. And I think that's what people feel.
I also think that it's a beautiful time because I think more people recognize the power of connecting to their body. I don't think that that was something that was maybe it's common knowledge in my ecosystem now, but I just don't think that it was something that a lot of people knew about, where it was like, I think the mind frame back in the day was very like goal oriented, like you were saying, versus now, like even just like the Summan 5 years ago, if she went to a class and lay down the whole time, I would have felt like I wasted my time, energy, and money. Now, if I did that, I would not think at all. Oh, that's just what I needed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there had to be such a learning curve to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said before, there's no be all end all one practice. I think, we need to move and find practices that speak to all of us, that speak to all parts of you. And I think that also hold all parts of you so that, when you're going into whatever modality or whatever style of movement you choose to go into, that style of movement can hold you, whether it's your most, because some days you booked that class 2 weeks ago, or you booked it a week ago, and now you're walking into it and you didn't get any sleep and you're stressed at work and, like you couldn't find parking on your way in and all these things. And is that movement, or do you have the tools to be able to regulate your nervous system, honor your body? Can we learn that? And I think Pilates does that for people in a way where then they go into other movement practices more informed, more attuned. So now you're going into your strength, or you're going into your HIIT, or you're going into, your run, and you just feel more attuned.
So at the point in your life where Pilates came in and you were looking for that attunement, you were looking for that slowing down, that mindfulness, what started like happening for you? And I'll give you an example. Like, for example, a couple years ago, I feel like my life was so chaotic, and then I got to this point where I had peace. And when I had the peace, my body had the space to start to process all of that shit. And I'll never forget being in a yoga class. And actually, my best friend was hosting the yoga class, and I just cried and cried and cried. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with me? Then I researched, I figured it out. So I feel like that is like a variation of the zone that you are going into as you start this Pilates journey for yourself.
Yeah. I feel like for me, because I knew about the body, because I knew about that nervous system regulation aspect. One, I grew up very spiritual. So meditation has always been in my life, first very religiously as a Sikh girl with very religious parents. And then I feel like coping skill for me as like I got into yoga in university, and you have these ways of, and so I knew that like softening was important to me. I think for me, it was moments where I had no voice after work, and I had no, I was like breaking out in hives and these other little things that I was like, oh, what's going on with me? Whatever, like keep going. And then I would finish a Pilates practice or a meditation, and my voice would come back. And I was like, oh, this isn't because I have an allergy or I'm sick. This is because my mind is telling me I need to slow down and soften.
Yeah.
And then when I started to continue my Pilates practice and I saw my body shift, where I was like, the doctors were saying, you need to slow down, you need to work less. You're going to start IVF, and there's going to be times where you can't work out as hard as you're working out. I was like, okay. So I started to accustom myself, because once I hit it, when somebody says you got to do this, I'm like, I'm going to do it to the best I can do it. And so I'm
productive, okay?
You want me to soften? You want me to find my feminine? I will find her. I will kill the masculine and find the feminine and have these babies. And I feel like when that journey started, I was like, okay, you're telling me this is what I have to do? Let's go. And that is when I saw my body shift where I was like, oh.
What are those shifts? Talk us through it.
So I would feel like, I felt like for the longest time, I was like, that's my composition. I'm doing 2 workouts a day. I can deadlift. I can do pull-ups. I'm so strong. And I can run an 8K like it's nothing. But my muscle mass is there, but I can't see the tone. Brown girls just don't have abs. You know, like people are like, it's
That's
just
what
harder.
you thought.
I just thought, oh, it's harder for me to do it because of our diet, because of my disposition. I have a shorter torso. And not that I scientifically, I knew it wasn't that way, but I was like, oh, it was
just the beliefs that were circulating
in my mind. And I was like, it's just like my body composition isn't that way. Like I'm eating tight, and then because I had to slow down and soften, and I was probably getting more sleep, I started shifting the way I looked at food and diet. My abdominal wall, because I wasn't bracing. I wasn't breathing and pushing out. I was pulling in. I was drawing in. I was connecting to my core. I understood the anatomy behind it because of my background. So I was able to then say, hey, this is how I need to activate my body to connect. And it was so, it was just this aha moment that I didn't have to work out as hard.
It sounds like a game changer.
But I can look the way I want
so good and hot.
And I can be as strong. Like I would still go and do my lifts and not maybe have to, I might have not been getting stronger, but I could maintain strength. And so that was really interesting to me, where I was like, wow, this is interesting. And then also certain physical symptoms of my level of stress started to decrease because my cortisol went down. Because I started regulating my hormones. I started to learn about me as a female body, which I was like, how did no one teach me this at 20?
Yeah.
When I was in high school, how did no one say, hey, there's going to be different phases of reproduction in your life, and each of us are going to hit them differently, and this is what happens, and this is what you have to be prepared for. This is what you have to understand. And I can start feeling the symptoms of perimenopause at 35. Excuse me?
That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. And then being not realizing oh yeah, that could happen to me, but
and when I say that's insane, I think what's insane is the fact that we don't have the consciousness over this, because there wasn't that much, I don't know, information, interest, I don't know what it was, research.
And I think publicly, because I think, and then I'll layer on top of it, as an Indian woman, nobody talks about it.
Yeah. Facts.
We don't talk about our women's health. We don't even talk about our bodies.
Yes. Okay, so when we met up for coffee, I loved something that you said. You were talking about how in Indian culture, how just beauty, and even how we strip ourselves sometimes from wearing makeup, or talking about our bodies, or having relationships with our bodies.
Or how you should dress as a girl.
Yes.
And how you should view your body as a girl, and how and this might be my own lived experience, but I feel it resonates with so many women when I talk to them, is you are in charge of how everyone views your body. So dress the way you need to dress so that other people don't look at you a certain way. And it's your fault if they do. And also, if you're going to have your hair a certain way, or wear your makeup a certain way, and I know this is not, it's just for me in my lived experience as a brown woman, I feel like there's a lot there of that is how usually we are told to hold our space for our body, that there's no space for it. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about, my kids know their anatomical body parts. I don't know if my mom would have been like, that is your, vagina. This is your, these are your breasts, or what is this, Mom? Why are you like this? And Dad's like this, or Mom's like this. I don't think that's talked about. And what that does subconsciously, when we say our body holds, our body holds, that our body is the last thing to think about. So then you go and you throw yourself in a movement practice, and now you're 18 and you can go to the gym, and you have a bit more autonomy over movement, and you're
wobbling.
You're wobbling, or you're put my right hand here on the mat, and she's telling me to press my right hand but I can't feel my right hand because I've never been actually attuned to allowing myself to feel my body. And I'm a woman who's very active my whole life. And when I started deep movement like yoga or Pilates that requires you to slow and listen to your body and not bypass the cues and just go harder and faster and stronger, I was like, wait a second. You're asking me to straighten my leg and I can't get my leg that straight, but I'm strong enough to do that. I know I am and hold it up. But I can't.
You can't figure it out.
I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that's the relationship of you saying, oh, let my body surrender to me. Let my body have ease. Let me be kind to my body. Let me speak nice things to my body.
Let me love my body.
Yeah.
Let me even recognize my body.
And that's what I mean by like also intentionally what is movement. Because let me walk into this room and think that I'm nourishing myself as I step onto this reformer or this mat or this barbell. And that's what's crazy, I think, like when I started integrating this style of mindful movement and mindful Pilates into strength training. And I'd be like, okay, before we start lifting, lie on the floor and start breathing. And I want you to find your inhale and exhale. I want you to find your spine and I want you to orientate yourself. How does the floor feel under your body? Now come up. Now we're going to do this deep core work. Now you're going to get up. Now we're going to go lift. And people would be like, what? Can I just not do 10 push-ups and like some glute bridges and some band walks and giddy up and go? And no.
Yeah.
And then they would lift and they would lift so much more or more intentionally. They'd get less hurt and they'd feel their body. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like nerd out, geek out, my geeky face is on. And I just
I can tell you are freaking loving. But you know what? You must have such a well of compassion because you are constantly witnessing people at such different levels and different experiences of just that, of their body, of their relationship to their body. And just to be able to constantly hold it all, you must just have such a well of like compassion and just kindness for humans because it sounds like you've had your own very lived experience of it.
Yeah. And I think like people are coming to my space to like learn, to connect, to be. So it is my job to create that space for them. It is my passion to create. If someone walks in and they're so guarded and disconnected from their body, and it's really hard to get them to even know what their lefts and rights are when they're moving, or to understand what it feels like to lie on their back, or like understand like when I say this, do like lift your right leg up, as I often make fun of in class when I say at the beginning of the session. But it's like important that I create that space because then in class, like as quickly as the second or third time they come in, if they feel a calm and that sense of ease and that sense of whatever safety feels like for them that they've equated to the space that we've created for them, wow. Like, and then all of a sudden, their learning curve is so steep. And I'm like, oh, it was just they needed somebody to sit there and listen. And once you start seeing that, you're just like, all I needed to do is listen, and all I need to do is create space. Cool? And I think that's when you, as a guide, and I know you know this as a guide yourself, like when you're a guide and you're like, and you understand, hey, this is just someone's nervous system response. They're either in fight, they're flight, they're fawn, they're in attachment cry. Like where are they? There's just their nervous system dysregulated, like we're talking about. Their nervous system has armor on, and the way they armor up is to float away and not think, or to fight and push through. And I bet me moving their leg, and they're fighting me moving their leg, but they don't even consciously know that. So I just need to have compassion for that.
Yeah.
And that took me a long time as a guide and a coach to like learn. And I feel like that was a aha moment for me.
I think that does take a little bit of time to learn because you're just like, but I even remember when I was at your class and you were like adjusting me and I'm like, you were adjusting my foot and I was just like, I don't know how to do what she wants me to do. But I noticed the difference when I did it. And I was like, oh, that was all me. That was all my tension. That was all my like unwillingness to just like surrender.
Unwillingness to surrender, but also you've done something for the last 30-something years one way. My expectation is not that you're going to get it on the first day.
Yeah.
Nor should your expectation be. Because I'm teaching you to look at movement and your body and your relationship with movement and your relationship with your nervous system in a whole different way. So I think like And I think you came to that realization so quick because you're doing the work and you're so attuned to that. And I think it's something that I also have to like vocalize to people, because I think that's like an aha moment for so many people. They're like, I'm not getting it, Taren. Why am I not getting it? And then I'm like, no.
It takes time.
You've been literally walking the world.
Yeah.
You've been breathing a different way for 30-something years, 40-something years, 50. So how do you feel like you're going to just achieve it in 30 minutes, or 60 minutes? Like, give yourself that grace.
Yeah, we're such perfectionists. I want to, like, I know we're coming up for time, so there's some other things I'm like, I got to ask her. Like, when you say that and you talk about the pelvic floor, can you please, when you say heal your pelvic floor, what does that mean?
That's like, I think I said that. Which you need to heal your pelvic floor. I think every human should go to pelvic floor physio. And every human should know that they may do an internal exam, which nobody talks about. So know that when you sign up for a pelvic floor physio after this podcast, because that will shock you if you don't. Our pelvic floor is where the deep core muscles of our body attach. It's the muscles that stabilize our pelvis. Our pelvis separates the top of our body to the bottom of our body. And when our pelvis is in correct alignment and is able to release and contract correctly, it stabilizes our core, our inner thighs, our legs, our upper trunk, our spine. It helps create strong posture. When your body is in a fight or flight, so we have parasympathetic, which is calm and ease in the body. Our nervous system is regulated, it's chilled out, it's rested, it's in a state of rest, to sympathetic, which is in that fight or flight. You're on guard, you're kind of ready to rumble. You feel like there might be something just around the corner, or you might be at the stress of a workout. Our pelvic floor cannot differentiate stress. It differentiates stress. When it's stressed, it activates unconsciously. It'll just tighten up. And when it's not stressed, you would think it would naturally release, but it does not. We have to teach it to release. So
what does the release feel like?
The release feels like a letting go, like a widening. Like when you walk in and you engage your pelvic floor, it's almost like a sensation of like you're walking into cold water is a sensation, was a sensory cue we use. But it's the idea, it's like a creating of space between your pubic bone, your tailbone, and your sit bones. And all of those muscles connect to your rectum. So it's like you're releasing the tension in your rectum. And so sometimes what can happen is our pelvic floor, it's just like our abdominal wall, when we tighten, we braces, but it's not given the same cues to release. And so when we don't learn the tools to release it, it can constantly be in tension. Or for some people, it's been weakened through certain things like pregnancy, childbirth, also other contraindications that may happen, health contraindications, that it needs to activate, and it's not activating enough. So you have a really weak pelvic floor, which creates weak stability. And then you have an overactive or tense pelvic floor that can create back pain, pelvic pain, an inability to engage and truly connect to your core and feel like you're in a proper alignment. And there's a lot of symptoms that come out of that, but not enough people know about pelvic floor health. And especially if you are pre or postnatal or trying to have children, I highly recommend it, just from like pelvic health and the whole idea of being pregnant and then recovery post-pregnancy, whether C-section or vaginal, I think is really, really important. And then I think also men get bypassed in that. And still pelvic floor health is so important for men, for prostate health, things like hernias, and learning how to engage properly. And your pelvic floor physio can create a really contained environment where you can connect to those deep pelvic floor muscles in a very safe space, because sometimes in a very busy gym or a studio, that might not be the safest space for you to do that, or the most comfortable space for you to do that. And so this is a place where they can get, and it's a very small and precise connection that is really can be challenging for people to wrap their head around, to release and engage. So that's why I always say that's a great recommendation. And if you have the right benefits, it's covered, which is really helpful as well.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that's actually where I'm at right now, is like learning about my pelvic health, and like also, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to engage. And we hear about Kegels, like that's like a key word, Kegels, and we think it's more to do with like the vaginal connection, but it's really to do with the rectal connection. And that's where it all attaches anatomically. So it's like, but most people don't know that. And that's another thing, is like, we haven't been given the education and autonomy over our own health and body, and we're slowly peeling away at it. And like, I think that is like one of my passions, is like walking into a classroom and starting to talk about the pelvic floor, and people being like, I just came here to work out.
Yeah.
I just want a booty.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
And being
because
like,
that's what they're sold. And I totally get that. You know, it's like, I always think about health and finances. Like, why are we not taught these things at such a young age? Yeah. Okay. So let's say if the person on the other side, I'm just going to use myself as an example, because I feel like I know a lot of people who are doing this. So let's say you're weight training about 4 times a week. And so like weight training, doing cardio, like slowly progressive overload, like how would somebody like that add Pilates into their life? And like I feel like I understand what Pilates would then add into your life. But like, yeah, how would you add it into your life?
One, it's totally dependent on where you are in life. So your stage, like, are you in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s? Are you in your reproductive stage? Are you perimenopausal, menopausal? Men, where are you at in your life? I think Pilates should be something that's integrated at least twice a week. And then I would do strength training 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not a big cardio person, unless it's very intentional cardio that you know is going to. But I also get that, like, it gives you that little endorphin rush, or not little, sometimes big. So it just depends on like what cardio does for you. But I would say for me right now, or for you, right, you're just in that age gap of like mid 30s to, mid 40s. I would say, yeah, it's all about weight training and getting the base of weight training, but doing it properly. And that's what I think Pilates does. It creates intentionality in your core connection. So when you do things like your lifting and your other movement patterns and your running, that it is an addition to not only a good workout, yes, but it's such a supportive practice, because it's going to keep you injury-free. It's going to keep you connecting to your core and keeping proper alignment when you move. And when you move in the right way, when your form is dialed, your gains are so much better. And I think that's something that's so bypassed. Like, I think if your trainer or your coach is not correcting your form, and you have not had someone correct your form, invest.
Yeah.
It is a game changer. It will change the way you do everything. And I can say that because I've seen it through so many of our people who have done Pilates, but then also done like our strength program and been like, what? Like, how much stronger am I? And how much more attuned am I? And how much of a difference do I see in my body? Because the two are together. You know how I can tell you're a really good coach is because you want people to have the skills, and then you want them to just take them into their lives. That you truly want them to just like take all of this knowledge, soak it up, and then just go apply it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean it. Okay. What's the difference between yoga and Pilates?
Oof.
Rapid fire questions.
Well, I'm not certified in yoga. And I would say yoga is a modality of movement that speaks to the body in a completely different way. What I can say is, let's talk about Pilates first, and then I can say what I know about yoga. Pilates has a principle of constant and continuous tension. It has the principle of two-way stretch, which means your body is always under a sense of tension, but with supportive joint connection. So what we're not doing is we're not locking out a joint. We're supporting the joint with the musculature and adding tension in both directions with a constant burn over a slow and gradual movement practice that hits all areas of the body. Yoga is a modality that is, and it's got very structured flow, like Pilates contemporary and then the classical are two different styles of Pilates. I think Pilates kind of gets butchered in the movement world. There's fitness. Okay, there's fitness when you're doing fire hydrants for a minute or 20 reps, that's not Pilates. Or when you're doing glute bridges, like bridges for 20 reps, and nobody's correcting your form and creating like an understanding of why you're doing them, that's not Pilates. I'll be straight up. I'm like the most candid instructor that way.
I love it. You would love our film because this is literally all my beef, because that's where I started. Like those were the classes I started at. And I'm like, I feel so, everything you said about coming into the space, feeling so disconnected, all my arm's up. And I'm like, but I keep
They're
going.
not teaching you about posture, about how the tension, how you create tension in your body, how you create full body movement and all planes of movement. That is Pilates. It's about a full body movement practice. If they're telling you you're doing abs and arms that day, that is not Pilates.
Yeah.
And classical Pilates has a very strict repertoire of a select amount of movements that you flow through. Contemporary is a shift on that, and depending on how what governing body or methodology you're certified in is going to have a shift in that. But there's a strategic amount of exercises that you flow through in a very strategic way, depending on the goal of the method. And so just in general, I could tell you about all the different types of Pilates. And when you walk into a studio that is Pilates, and when you know you'll walk into a studio that's not Pilates, like once you've done the two, you will know the difference.
Yeah.
And then and the integration of breath is really important. So breath pattern in Pilates and yoga are very different, and what the breath is used for. In yoga, it can be used for, yes, muscle activation and release, but it can also be used to activate certain organs or systems of the body, like the respiratory system, endocrine system, depending on what style of yoga it is. And I think there's little athletic styles of yoga, and then there's more, meditative styles of yoga as well. And I think those are more to do with stretch and mobility. And I think strength and alignment are also another fundamental principles of Pilates that I think people forget about, that are different than yoga. Yoga has strength, but it's more about stretch, mobility, and that mindfulness in a different way. And I can speak more to that. For Pilates, it's the idea that you're having stability, strength, mobility, and the functionality of the movement in your body in all planes, while maintaining constant and continuous tension and maintaining that level of stretch where we call it oppositional force through the body. And that's when it gets hard, because when you have that oppositional force and constant and continuous tension, and you're maintaining the proper posture, you cannot do 20 reps.
You got to be there.
You are in it to win it.
Yeah.
For 4 to 8 reps. And then you need to move on.
Yeah. You've really helped me. Like, I thought I knew, but now I really know. Like, I have so much more clarity of like why you would use the different modalities, like what you're trying to actually accomplish for your body, maybe with my why, right?
Yeah. I just think it comes down to like, this is my line of the year, of probably the next 3 years of my 5 years, 10 years of my life. What does success mean for you in all areas of life? But like, if we just apply it to movement right now, it's like, what is success for me in my movement life right now, in my overall wellness and health? And you look at it that way, and then you say, okay, so if that's my why or my goal is to have this feeling, this overarching understanding of that success for me, then moving back from that and saying, okay, now here are some specific and smart goals that I want to create. But like, and then it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I want to build muscle mass, and I want to see a shift in the way my body aesthetically looks, but I also want to get stronger. So I need to do strength training, and I also want to feel more connected in my body, and I want some mindfulness that supports that. So I stay, injury free, and I stay stronger and more connected in my joints and my musculature of my body. Okay, that's Pilates, And then I also like want to get an endorphin rush, and I want to like kick it into high gear and go for a run every once in a while, because I like that. It makes me feel good. It
makes me feel good. It's just like I've had my own body journey, and like I would say before it was very like I move because I don't like my body, versus it has over the past couple of years really shifted to I move because I love my body, because I want to take care of my body. I want to nourish my body. And like I always describe it as going from gas to diesel, and it's just like it's such a different like back then you couldn't have told me this and would I have been able to pick it up? You know what I mean? I needed to go through that consciousness journey. I needed to feel my body. I needed to start trusting my body, learning my body to be able to get to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like starting putting that armor down.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone has to go through their journey to get there. But I think if we start to lead with a little bit more love and compassion and kindness for self when we move our bodies and we connect to our bodies, which sounds sometimes really woo-woo and hilarious because you're walking into like, you know, sometimes a really intense program or workout. But I think that's what, if you lead with that and you listen to that, you're going to be closer to the results you need and want.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 2 questions before you head out. Question 1, let's say that person is on the other side. They're like, okay, like I definitely see the value of Pilates. And how does that person select a Pilates studio? Like, how do they know? Like, let's say they don't live in Vancouver and they can't go to your beautiful studio. How do they know what is a Pilates, like a good Pilates class?
I think 1, there's the difference, like, because we talked about classical and contemporary, and there should be like a classically trained, there's certain methodologies that people are trained under. So looking to see how are their instructors certified? Are they trained or are they certified? And certified instructors, the process of being certified through a reputable Pilates, institution is going to be quite a challenging and difficult program that you'll know that your instructors, have the education behind them or the accreditation to hold space for your body. And then I think it's going in there and trying the class and understanding, are they cueing your body? Are they mindful of alignment and movement? And when they're talking to you, it shouldn't be hard, fast, and like furious. It should be mindful and slow and connected. And it's sometimes in Pilates, like one of my mentors, said, I think I'm going to be sore after this. She's like, well, soreness isn't a good indication. It is not actually a goal of Pilates for you to be sore. Like if you're sore,
she's like, let me break this down for you real quick.
Then I want you to tell me, because then I want to know like, what's
going on? Yeah.
But you should feel connected and attuned and activated. And that makes sense, because that's how physiologically our bodies, it does make sense for what is happening. Now, if you've never moved those muscles before and you've never worked that way, yes, you may have something. But so I would say 1 is look at the certification accreditation. Look at like what kind of classes are they offering? Is it like a whole gambit of classes? Are they doing Pilates with weights? Are they doing, are they doing certain combinations and they're not honoring like this is yoga with Pilates movements or yoga inspired? Like it's really important to us at our studio that we are really aware of when we are fusing 2 modalities and how we are very good at honoring them. And then you go into, so if you're going into a specific Pilates practice, our reformer classes, our contemporary reformer, we'll mess with that, chair is very, contemporary chair. So I think it's just reading the verbiage on their website. And sometimes they can, the people will say they're Pilates and they're not, and then you have to go in and try it. But they should be checking your form and they should be correcting and they should be cueing you through that. And if they're not, then it's probably not a space you want to be in.
Yeah. Fair.
Or maybe you do. Maybe you like the vibe. That's okay.
Maybe you like the vibes. Okay, last question is, we're going to have you on again because I definitely want to learn more about your story. And today I feel like I got to rapid fire the shit out of you.
Like, whoa, you're like, give me all the open my textbook.
But you were just game for it. So I absolutely love it. But what is something in life that's making you really excited right now?
I came back 8 months after mat leave and I didn't know who I was. I did, 5 years trying to have babies and then 10 months pregnant with twins. So I couldn't be the fitness influencer pregnant mom I wanted to be. And then I had twins and I was like, I don't have time to, program a pre and postnatal program. And so then coming back from that was a really hard process for me on a journey the last 2.5 years of who I am as a movement coach with all of my journey as a strength coach, as, also rehabilitative kinesiologist, and then on top of it, Pilates. And what a great deal of who I am now is contributed to all three of those. And coming back and saying, like, what am I passionate about? And it's honestly like what I have in store next for, all Method Studio, and that fusion of like strength and Pilates and bringing like conscious lifting and mindful lifting to people who have lifted for their whole lives and people who have never picked up a barbell or dumbbell. And I'm just really excited to do things like this and educate humans about moving for your body in the best way possible, intelligently, with autonomy, and with, the education, like educating people so that they move their body in an informed way. Because I think there's too many gyms and studios and just society and the way the fitness industry is built is do this workout and it'll get you this result. And it's like, that's not how it works.
But that's what sells.
But that sells. And so it's like, but doing this and having the studio open for a year and a half and seeing how it's changed people, I'm just like really excited to share that with humans. And that took me a long time to get to because I was like, who am I? Am I strength? Am I Pilates? Am I a mom? Like, who am I, this new person just showing up in this world and open up a studio while having 2 kids? Who am I?
You have 3 babies.
3 babies, but like, and like it being very hard, like not easy. And so now coming out of that and not out of it, but coming through it and seeing what I'm ready for. And I just think like sitting in that power of it is really exciting for me. And as a brown woman, like I am so excited to share that with other women people of color, because I think not enough people of color have representation in this industry. And so the fact that people can come to my space and be like, someone who looks like me is teaching the class, someone who looks like me created this program, someone who understands my journey to some regard has created this.
Which is just so powerful, because when you were talking about like just not feeling your body, like not talking about your body, I felt that to my core. And I think that that's something that like so many people of color are starting to really wake up to and starting to take that autonomy over their body and like mindful movement. Like, I joke like, but that's what sells. But like, I think now there are so many more people who are just like, no, like I want to be in alliance with my body. I want to be in community with my body. And so how do I do that? And you're creating a space for them to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
and congratulations.
Thank you. And
of course,
this is amazing. I could talk to you all day.
I know. I wish I had more time with you, but
I wish I was on time.
It's okay. She's a busy entrepreneur, all right?
Oh my gosh.
Taren, where can people find you online?
People can find me on my Instagram, where I'll share my story at Taren Grewal. And then also at All Method Studio, where you can learn all about the All Method, Pilates, strength, and our new class Flow, which is a yoga-inspired, Pilates-inspired fusion.
I love it. Also, you're a great blogger.
Oh.
You are. So you will go to her Instagram and you will learn a lot about her.
You will. I really know. I share it all. Probably TMI. That's what I tell people when they take my class. You're going to get one piece of TMI every class.
Thank you.
Thank you.